Hi, welcome to NicheCraft. My name is Cassie and I'm your host. And today I'm going to be teaching you how to make the granny stripe stitch. That's what I call it, but it is also called the granny in a line. And how you make this is, instead of making a granny square the way that you would starting at the middle and going out, when you do the granny stripe stitch or the granny in a line stitch, what you're doing is you make a chain and then you make the stitch back and forth like you're making rows. And it can be a great way to make this, granny square looking item, because you have control of exactly how wide it is and how long it is. This particular blanket happens to be my cat's favorite blanket. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I made it, maybe because it's the kind of yarn, I don't know, but I just wanted to let you guys know right up front, because there's probably going to be some cat hair on my table once I take it off. Anyway, a viewer who was watching me, and they saw this blanket in the background. They said, "Oh man, can you help me learn how to make that?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I can totally hook you up." So I am doing that right now. This blanket was used with Red Heart Super Saver Ombre in the color Anemone. And then the border is just a single crochet row. And I think I used a larger hook for this. And it's just a regular pink. I think it's called raspberry or petal pink. I can't remember which one, but it was one of those two. So I'm going to be, here's all my cat stuff. He does love that blanket. Okay, so I'm going to be teaching you how to make this stitch, and I've already decided that I want to make a receiving blanket. So a receiving blanket is 40 inches by 40 inches, or for those of you who like the metric system, it's 102 centimeters by 102 centimeters. And so I have already made my chain, and I am using this color, which is Cosmos, and it is a Willow Yarns wheel color. I got this and I just love these colors. I think it would make a beautiful blanket. So I'm going to make a little receiving blanket and give it to a new mother, basically. So what I remember as my stitch multiple was that I made a stitch multiple of 3 plus 4, but I didn't actually count my stitches for this because I know how to fix it if I don't have the right amount of stitches at the end. So either make a swatch or your blanket with a stitch multiple of 3 plus 4, or we'll go ahead and you can just make it as big as you like, and I can show you how to make sure that it fits in the end. All right? Okay, so once you have your chain, we're going to start with row 1. So what you're going to do is you are going to find, let me go ahead and zoom in here. Just realized that I don't have my little marker that I used to use for the center, so just bear with me here. Okay, so, I just wanted to mention what I showed you was using a weight 4 yarn, and this is a weight 3 yarn, so it might look a little bit different. And what I was using was an acrylic yarn, and this is 70% acrylic and 30% wool. So the drape might be a little bit different on this one. Just wanted to let you guys know that before I started. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. And what you're going to do is in that 4th chain from the hook, you're going to yarn over and you're going to insert your hook and do 1 double crochet. All right. And then you are going to yarn over again and do another double crochet into that same stitch, and that creates your first granny square. Now you're going to skip 2, yarn over, and you are going to put 3 double crochets in the next loop. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. And I think that I called that before a granny crochet. It's really a granny cluster, because the turning chain is 1 double crochet, and then we've got 2 more double crochets, and then we skip 2 and make another granny cluster, which is 3 double crochets. And then here we are going to skip 2 more, and we're going to go into the next one, and we are going to put another granny square cluster. We are not going to do any kind of chains in between the clusters. We are just putting in those clusters right after each other, okay? So you don't have to chain in between these clusters. All right. So we are going to keep going, making these clusters. We're skip 2, make a cluster, skip 2, make a cluster, and on until the end. And I will meet you when I get to the end of my chain. Okay, see you there. All right, so I have finished my row. I'm almost at the end. And as you can see, if I zoom out just a little bit, oops, that was the wrong way. If I zoom out just a little bit, you can see my hook here, and you can see that I have made this whole row of clusters of 3 double crochets and 2 chains, separated by 2 chains. See? Yeah. So I have all of those made, and I am at the very end here. And when you reach the end, you will either have 1, 2, or 3 left, okay? And I'm talking about chains, okay? Doesn't matter how many you have left, because we always finish the same way. You yarn over and you make 1 double crochet into that last chain, okay? And that is how you complete a row. Every single time you're making a new row, you always complete it with 1 double crochet. That's how we prevent ourselves from increasing or decreasing, okay, as we go. And now we are ready to start our next row, okay? So we're going to start row 2 by chaining 3, okay, and then turning. And on this row, and you will do this at the beginning of every row, is that we are going to put two double crochets in between that last double crochet and the next cluster. So we do 1, okay, and then we do 2. And what you'll see is that the first cluster, the first granny cluster, it is the equivalent of 3 double crochets, because that turning chain counts as a double crochet. So we're starting with a cluster, and we always end with 1 double crochet. All right, so now as we go back across, we are going to put a cluster of 3 double crochets in between all of those clusters from the row before. All right, so there is our second cluster, which is the equivalent of, which is 3 double crochets. It's not the equivalent, it actually is 3 double crochets there. So there's our next cluster, and without chaining or anything, we're going to go straight into the next double crochet in between the previous clusters by making 3 double crochets again. Okay, and then one more time, we're going to just go straight into the next one, making 3 double crochets, just as easy as making granny square, only you're doing it in a row. And again, now I'll meet you back when I'm there, but you are going to end with just 1 double crochet into the last stitch, okay? So I will meet you when I get there. See you then. All right, guys, so I have come to the end. As you can see, I have made my second row of grannies in a row, yeah? And now I am at the end of this line, and this is the chain where we first started, where we put a double crochet into that 4th chain from the hook in the very beginning. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the top of the chain that we started in, which is right here. Okay, that's where it is. Let me go ahead and zoom in so you can see. I don't know if you can see real well, but it's right here at the top. What we're going to do is we are going to put a double crochet in the very top of that. And that is, again, how we prevent ourselves from adding or subtracting stitches as we make this granny stitch. Okay, so now I'm going to just zoom out a little bit so you can see better. Okay, and you can see the rest of my work here. Just going to put it to the side again, and we're going to start the next row by chaining up 3, turning, and with every first row you start by putting 2 double crochets in between that last double crochet and the next cluster. So that's 1, this is the first double crochet, and this is the second double crochet, and again that turning chain counts for 1 double crochet. So when we go across, what we're going to do is we're going to put 3 double crochets in between each one of these clusters. Okay, no chaining in between or anything like that. And then when we come to the end, we are going to locate the third chain in that chain 3. Okay, which is, let me get another, I'm using this eye hook as a pointer. Okay, so which is right here. And when you go into this one, you're going to end with 1 double crochet. Okay, and that's how we prevent ourselves from adding or subtracting any stitches, because we always end with 1 double crochet, and then we always begin with that chain 3 and 2 double crochets before the first cluster. That we were always ending with 1, beginning with a cluster, and we never add or subtract any stitches. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I do believe it is a multiple of 3 plus 4, but if it isn't, it's really, really easy to correct at the end of the first row. So hopefully you feel comfortable with that. This is another variation on that granny square. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of the granny square variations, including the granny rectangle, I'm going to put them all in a playlist. That way, as I keep adding the granny square variations, I can just keep them in that playlist so you guys can easily find out how to do granny squares in all sorts of ways, you know, with this basic, with the traditional granny square stitch. That's what I'm talking about, not all granny squares. So that said, remember to check out my channel because I do have a giveaway going on right now, as always. If you enjoy yarn content, you might want to check out my Mystery Box Mondays, or any of my book reviews or our product reviews. I also have a whole lot of other tutorials on here if you want to check those out. I would appreciate a like, a subscribe, and leave me a comment letting me know what I'm doing well or what you'd like for me to improve on, and I am totally open to that. I read all of my comments. I might not reply to all of them, but I do read all of my comments. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye bye.